Welcome back to the West Virginia Media Lab podcast. We always love digging into these stories that make West Virginia so unique. And today we're going to be exploring a legend that is both creepy and captivating. The Mud Man of Marion County.
Yeah, it's a story that really captures the imagination, doesn't it? You've got this blend of folklore and reported sightings.
It really does. And we're basing our exploration today on the latest blog post from the West Virginia Media Lab blog. And, it's not just a spooky campfire tale you hear whispered around here. There were actual sightings reported back in 1960 that really shook up the community.
Yeah, and West Virginia's always had such a rich tradition of, folklore and sometimes those tales, they seem to blur the lines between legend and reality, and the Mudman is a prime example of that.
So let's paint a picture for our listener.
Okay.
What exactly are we talking about when we say Mudman?
Well, imagine this grotesque figure covered head to toe in mud, emerging from the murky depths of the Monongahela River. It's said to be half man, half monster, just a truly unsettling image.
The Monongahela River winding through Marion County.
Mm-hmm.
That area has always had an air of mystery to it. Just the perfect setting for a legend like this.
Absolutely. And long before the 1960 sightings, there were whispers of strange encounters along the river. Fishermen reported hearing these heavy sloshing footsteps in the woods, but finding no footprints, just disturbed mud.
Okay, so people were already spooked.
Yeah.
Then 1960 rolls around and things escalate quickly. The blog post talks about a group of teenagers hanging out by the river at night. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. These teenagers were parked on a dirt road near the river when they saw this massive figure emerge from the woods covered in mud and moving in a way that didn't seem quite human.
Wait, hold on. They actually saw it. What did they do?
Well, they shined their flashlights on it, and according to their account, the figure bolted back towards the river at an incredible speed, much faster than you'd expect for something that was weighed down with mud.
That's terrifying. I mean, I can just picture myself in that car. I'd be hitting the gas and getting out of there as fast as possible. But this wasn't the only sighting that year, right?
No, not at all. Just a few days later, two fishermen near Fairmont reported seeing a similar figure actually emerge from the river itself. They described it as rising up from the water, covered in mud, and then disappearing back into the depths, and this time there was physical evidence.
What kind of evidence?
Massive footprints, huge, filled with water, and lined with that distinct river muck, Not something easily faked or explained away.
Okay, now this is where it starts to feel like more than just a spooky story, two separate sightings.
Yeah.
Physical evidence. It's like the legend is starting to take on a life of its own.
And it doesn't stop there. There was another incident this time involving a driver who nearly hit something on a dark road near the river.
Whoa, so this thing was venturing out further from the river? Was it the Mudman?
That's what the driver believed. They swerved to avoid hitting what they describe as a tall, dark figure covered in mud. And this incident was actually reported to the police.
A police report now that adds a whole new level of credibility to this story. You can't just brush that aside. What did the police find?
The responding officer didn't find any person at the scene, but he did see something very strange there on the pavement were inhumanly large mud prints. The officer even noted the size and unusual shape of the prints in his report.
So now you've got teenagers, fishermen, and even a police officer reporting these encounters. And these weren't just fleeting glimpses. There were details, descriptions, and even physical evidence. It's no wonder people in Marion County were on edge.
Absolutely. This wasn't just some campfire story anymore. This was something real, something tangible and potentially dangerous. The Mudman had stepped out of legend and into their lives.
It's fascinating how these sightings, they seem to really tap into this primal fear, this idea of something unknown lurking in the darkness just out of sight.
Yeah, like that old saying, we're more afraid of what we can't see. And I imagine it's not some, monster in some far off land. This is allegedly right here in our backyard in a river that we might fish in or drive past every day. Exactly, that proximity, just makes it so personal, almost like it could be watching you waiting for the right moment to...
The blog post describes the Mudman as a, silent mud-covered figure. The image is just so creepy, it really plays on our most basic fears.
It does. It taps into that instinctive fear of the dark, of the unseen, something primal and potentially dangerous, just beyond our perception.
Okay, so we've got these sightings, these chilling descriptions. But who or what was the Mudman? The blog post explores some different theories, right?
Yeah, there are a few prevailing theories. One is that the Mudman was a reclusive hermit. Someone living off the grid, maybe homeless or mentally ill, and they might have used the mud for camouflage or even protection from the elements.
Okay, so basically someone choosing to live a solitary life, hidden away in the woods. It's not unheard of, especially in West Virginia. We do have a history of reclusive mountain folk. But Wouldn't a hermit leave some trace like a shelter or evidence of food gathering?
That's a good point. The lack of any such evidence really weakens that hermit theory. There's another theory that suggests that the mudman was a disfigured survivor of some kind of accident.
So someone badly injured, maybe their appearance was so unsettling that people just misidentified them as this monstrous creature.
Precisely. Perhaps they were ashamed of their appearance or afraid of being judged, so the mud could served as a way to conceal their injuries. But again, there are no missing persons cases that seem to fit.
And without that connection to a real person, it's hard to give that theory much weight.
Mm.
What about the possibility of a hoax? Kids pulling a prank that got way out of hand.
That's certainly a possibility. The power of suggestion is strong. One believable story can easily escalate into widespread panic, especially in a community that's already primed with legends and folklore. Fear is contagious.
Yeah, you hear a story, then you start seeing things in the shadows, especially if you're already on edge. But the police report, the footprints, those seem pretty hard to fake, don't they? What about the theory that really leans into the strange and unexplained, that the mudman was some undiscovered creature?
Ah, yes, the cryptozoology angle. It's certainly intriguing. The Monongahela River, with its murky depths and winding course, could easily conceal an unknown creature.
It's like something out of a horror movie. This creature lurking beneath the surface, emerging only on rare occasions to terrify unsuspecting witnesses.
The Monongahela is a deep river, and parts of it are relatively unexplored. Who's to say what might be living down there?
Now, the blog post mentions that despite a lack of sightings after 1960, the mudman remains a part of West Virginia folklore. I wonder, what do you think it is about this legend that continues to captivate people even decades later?
Well, I think it speaks to our primal fears and our enduring fascination with the unknown. The idea of a creature that exists just outside our understanding, lurking in the shadows. It's a chilling thought, but also undeniably captivating. We love a good mystery.
And it's not just some abstract monster. It's connected to a specific place, the Monongahela River, Marion County, that makes it feel real tangible. Like you said, it could be lurking just around the bend.
Exactly. You drive along that river at night, and you can't help but wonder, what if, even if you dismiss the mudman as pure folklore, there's part of you that wants to believe it adds a thrill to the everyday.
It's like the legend taps into a primal part of our brains, the part that's wired to see patterns and stories. Even in the darkness, we want to explain the unexplainable, and the mudman provides that sense of mystery and possibility. It gives us something to ponder, to wonder about. This whole thing reminds me of something I read recently, is about how legends and folklore often reflect the anxieties of the time they emerge, and the mudman sightings were right in the heart of the 1960s, Cold War tensions, the space race, all that uncertainty. Maybe the mudman was a symbol of those fears.
Yeah, that's an interesting connection. It makes you think about how these stories tap into something deeper, something societal. Like, what if the mudman represented the fear of the unknown, not just in the literal sense of a creature in the river, but also the unknowns of the future,
I see what you mean. It's like the mudman was a manifestation of those anxieties, something lurking just beyond our grasp, something we couldn't control.
Right. And the fact that it was connected to the river, this powerful force of nature, it adds another layer to that symbolism. It's almost like the river itself was a source of both life and potential danger, a reminder that nature is something we can't fully tame.
And the mud, that's such a powerful image, too. It's both grounding and obscuring.
Yeah.
It connects the mudman to the earth, to this primal force, but it also hides its true form, creating this sense of mystery and unease.
It makes you wonder, what's beneath the surface? What are we not seeing? Is it something monstrous, or is it just our own fear projecting onto the unknown?
So we've got these sightings, these creepy descriptions, all these intriguing theories. But at the end of the day, we're still left with the question, what was the mudman?
The answer, the creature itself remains elusive. And I think that's part of the reason why this legend continues to fascinate us. It's a mystery that invites us to fill in the blanks with our own imaginations.
And maybe that's okay. Maybe the not knowing is part of what makes it so compelling. It allows us to explore the possibilities, to question what we think we know about the world around us.
It's a reminder that even in a world that's increasingly dominated by technology and information, there's still room for wonder, for mystery, for those things that defy easy explanation.
As we've been talking, I keep thinking back to that police report, that detail about the inhumanly large mud prints. It's just so hard to dismiss.
It is a tantalizing piece of evidence, isn't it? It lends a sense of reality to the story, even if we can't definitively explain it.
It makes you wonder, what if there's some truth to this legend? What if the mud man is more than just a figment of our collective imagination? mean, you're a scientist. Do you ever think about the possibility that there are creatures out there, things we haven't discovered yet, things that might even seem monstrous to us?
Well, as a scientist, I'm trained to be skeptical, to look for evidence, to follow the data.
Yeah.
But I also recognize that our understanding of the world is constantly evolving. There are still vast areas of our planet that remain unexplored, especially the depths of our oceans and rivers.
So you're saying you're not ruling anything out?
Let's just say I keep an open mind. The Monongahela River is a deep and mysterious place. Who knows what might be lurking beneath its surface?
I love that it leaves us with a sense of wonder, a little bit of chills, and the possibility that something extraordinary might be out there just waiting to be discovered.
And that's the beauty of folklore, isn't it? It keeps us curious, it sparks conversation, and it reminds us that there's always more to learn, even in the most familiar of places.
Well, to our listeners, we encourage you to check out the full blog post on the West Virginia Media Lab website. It's packed with even more details, some chilling images, and even some audio recordings related to the Mudman legend.
And if you have any personal experiences or stories related to the Mudman or any other West Virginia legends, we'd love to hear from you. Share your stories with us.
We're always eager to hear from our fellow West Virginians and explore the rich tapestry of our state's folklore together. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and remember, sometimes the most intriguing stories are the ones that blur the lines between fact and fiction, leaving us wondering what's truly possible. Who knows? Maybe you'll have your own Mudman encounter someday. Just keep an eye on those shadows when you're by the river.
And maybe bring a flashlight just in case.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. The West Virginia Media Lab is all about celebrating our state and its people, businesses, stories, news, and folklore. If you love West Virginia like we do, be sure to comment below, then subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell to stay connected. Until next time, stay wild, wonderful, West Virginia.